There's a ton of talk lately about Switch 2, about dev kits, about launch games, and we got a ton of people who were sure there would be no Nintendo Direct in June, also sure that there's no Nintendo Switch 2 on the horizon. But today, I just want to give you some food for thought, some interesting things I was looking into that might help sort of reshape your thinking on when and how Nintendo launches this new console. What's going on, everybody? It's Zach from SwitchForce. Hit that like button if you enjoy these videos. Nintendo has used major launch exclusives as a paramount pillar of their console launches. From Super Mario Bros. Back in the NES, Super Mario World on the SNES, Mario 64 on the 64, Luigi's Mansion sort of on the GameCube, Twilight Princess on the Wii, and then Wii U sort of didn't do it, and look what happened to that system. Back on track with Breath of the Wild and Nintendo Switch, we expect them to have a huge game ready to launch Nintendo Switch 2. That's what most companies try to do, is provide a really big launch exclusive, a game, an experience that pulls you into the next gen and makes you willing to part with $300, $400, $500 hard-earned dollars to get the latest and greatest. But this 2021 chart has me reconsidering, and we see that for the first time in the first year of a console's life cycle, the launch year, Sony did not have an operating loss. They in fact had an operating profit the first year of PlayStation 5. Now what's interesting here is that PlayStation 5 only had one launch exclusive and was widely regarded as a pretty poor launch lineup. Everything was cross-gen except for Demon's Souls. Demon's Souls, a remake of a PlayStation 3 game, was the lone exclusive for PlayStation 5, and yet that did not seem to negatively impact the adoption rate of PS5 or Sony managing to have an operating profit for the first time in all of their console releases. So what does this teach Nintendo, and why? Well, it teaches Nintendo that due to the huge install base of Nintendo Switch and the desire for players to play games at higher graphical resolutions and better performance might mitigate the need for a top-tier exclusive. If you look at the online network infrastructure of PlayStation and all the games that players on PS4 wanted to play at better rates on PlayStation 5, could the same apply to Nintendo Switch? Because no one's ever seen Nintendo games in true 4K, is that enough to help bolster the launch of a system? Do they need a 3D Mario or even a Metroid Prime 4? Or can they leverage already announced Switch games at better resolutions for a while until they really get the new console's lineup going? As we see, the PlayStation 5 and Xbox Series X have not begun to release exclusives until just recently. They use a very slow build-up to bridge the gap between last generation and this generation, and perhaps Nintendo is taking note and could do the same. The bottom line here is that Nintendo's June Direct does not erase the possibility of Nintendo Switch 2 launching later this year or early next year. Despite announcing games that don't seem to particularly take advantage of the new hardware, Sony with PlayStation 5 has shown us that a brand new, huge, system-selling console exclusive at launch may not be necessary. The console itself can be the star of the show, especially with already established infrastructure like Nintendo Switch Online and Nintendo accounts, which Furukawa and Nintendo have been very clear are carrying over to Nintendo Switch 2. So is there a chance that maybe Nintendo doesn't need to wait for a huge Mario Odyssey 2 or a Metroid Prime 4 or something even bigger to launch the Switch 2? Is the fact that the Switch is already a massive success and there's so many games that we'd like to see at better resolutions and higher performance, is that enough to help us, at least at the beginning, when the early adopters are the most excited fans? Just some food for thought. Not saying the Switch 2 is going to come out this year, but when you hear everyone naysaying a soonish upcoming release for Nintendo Switch 2 based on the games revealed at the June Direct, this really made me reshape my thinking and reapproach how Nintendo could actually be thinking about launching their new console.